Good morning, third graders. I hope you guys had a great time at recess. But now let's get ready for math. So yesterday we started talking about time, and we started looking into hours and minutes and how you can add them and take them away. So today we're going to start putting them in word problems. So because we're doing word problems, I'm going to show you two different models in which solving these word problems are going to be easier. So let me go ahead and read your TEKS. So your objective today is, I will be able to determine the solutions to problems involving addition and subtraction of time intervals in minutes using pictorial models or tools such as a 15-minute event plus a 30-minute event equals a 45-minute event. So the two models we're going to use is the first one is called a set model, and we're going to use a set model by using a thing called a time tracker, which you're about to see. And we're also using a linear model, and for that we're using a line graph that has time on it. So you'll easily be able to figure out how many hours or minutes until a game. So let me go ahead and read the problem. So today's problem is, our first problem is, Daryl got home from school at 3:45 p.m. He has a baseball game at 6:30 p.m. How many minutes does he have until his game? So we know Daryl gets home at 3:45 p.m. His baseball game starts at 6:30 p.m. So what we need to try to do is figure out how many minutes Daryl has until his game starts. So at first we're going to get our whiteboard out, and I'm going to draw our time tracker chart. It's very simple. We have hours, minutes, and then this is our start time. So, if this is our start time, we know Daryl got home from school at 3:45. That has to be our start time, because this is when he gets out. So we're trying to figure out how many minutes 3:45 to 6:30 p.m. have between them. So we have 3:45. Let me show you this. We have 3 under the hours. 3 under the hours, and under the minutes we have 45. And this is our start. So we're going to use a thing called regrouping by base 60, and at first you might get a little bit confused, and a lot of people get confused because you're normally used to using base 10, which means 1 to 100, and now with base 60, we're doing this because a minute or an hour has 60 minutes in it. So base 60 basically stops at 60, and then you'll start over, because 60 minutes is equivalent to 1 hour. So that is why base 60 is important while you're measuring time. A lot of children also forget and have a problem with PM and AM, especially at 12, because at 12 noon, it's 12 p.m. But there's another 12, at a dark 12 at night, but that one is actually 12 a.m. So a lot of people will get those confused because most of the PMs are later in the day and most of the AMs are earlier in the day, but the 12 o'clock mark is kind of different. So don't forget, if it's late at night and it's dark and it's 12, that means it's 12 a.m. If it's during the day when you're eating lunch, that's 12 p.m. But those are easy things to get confused on, so we'll work through that if we have any issues. So we're starting at 3 hours and 45 minutes, and because we're using base 60 like I just talked about, we need to add 15 minutes. We're doing this because it's 3:45. 15 minutes added to 3:45 is going to be 4 o'clock. It's a lot easier to work with 4 o'clock than it is 3:45, even though it's only 15 minutes more or less. 4 o'clock is an easier number to look at and work with, especially when you're starting. So from here, since we're at 4, we know that what comes after 4 is 5. So we're going to go ahead and add 60 minutes. Again, base 60, that's why we're doing that. And that is going to give us 5 o'clock. And also, don't forget to add these two little dots to every time that you add to your time tracker chart. So now we're at 5. We're getting a lot closer to 6:30, but I think we need to add 60 more minutes. And now we're at 6 o'clock. So we know our ending time is 6 6:30. If we're at 6, we need to add 30 more minutes so that our time is at 6:30. So now our time tracker chart is done. And as you can see, you have your hours and minutes, you have all of your dots, and you have your start time plus how many minutes you added. So now, since we're trying to figure out how many minutes does he have until his game, we're going to go ahead and add all these numbers up together. So we need to do this in chronological order, so starting from top to bottom, just since this is your first day at this, and once you get better, I'll let you skip around a little bit, but for now we need to go in order. I know you'll see these two 60s and might want to add these up because it looks easier, but we need to go in chronological order. So our first problem is 15 minutes plus 60 minutes. MINS stands for minutes, and that puts us at 75 minutes. Now we need to add, so let's go and take these off. We take that away, we take this away. We have 60 minutes next, so add 60 minutes, and you have 135 minutes. So now we just did this 60, marked off that 60, so now we have 30 minutes left to add. So we have 135 minutes plus 30 minutes equals 165 minutes. So with this problem, using the time tracker, you're easily able to find out that Daryl has 165 minutes until his game if he gets home from school at 3:45 p.m. Alright? So that was good. We're going to keep working on that, but now I'm going to go ahead and show you the linear model. We're going to use the same problem, so I'm not going to repeat that just yet, but now we're using a different model. So this is a linear model, and as you see, I've already written out some of it for you. I have 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., and I know our problem ends at 6:30, but you have to make these equal. So you can see all of my parts are even, and because of that, I just went all the way to the end of the page. Alright? So from here, I also added our PMs because we're talking about PM, not AM. So that's what this is. So we have 12, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. So this is a really awesome thing. First, let's look back at our problem, and we know that Daryl got home from school at 3:45 p.m. So we have 3 p.m. right here. 3 p.m. is right here. If we're trying to get to 3:45, I have this mark telling us that's our 3:30 because it's half of our 1 hour mark, and half of 1 hour, which is 60 minutes, equals 30 minutes. So 30 minutes equals half of 60, which is half of 1 hour. So from here, I'm going to say 3:45 is about this mark right here. I made a really big one. This mark right here is where we're going to start. It's a baby bit crooked. This is our starting mark. This is our 3:45. Our 3:45 p.m. So from here, we need to get to, still using our base 60 regrouping, we need to go from 3:45 to 4, because as we did on our time tracker, it's easier to start with a number that is like 400. So 4 o'clock. So we're going to add plus 15 minutes from our starting to 4. So this is where I start, the big long one, and we're adding 15 minutes to get to 4. So this is where that 15 minutes is coming from. So from here, I think the easiest thing to do is going to be to add 1 hour, which is 60 minutes. So we're going to go from 4 to 5. So from 4 to 5 plus 60 minutes. So we're going from 4 to 5, and we're adding our 60 minutes right there. So we still have 5 to 6. So I believe we can add 1 more 60 minutes to our line graph. So we have plus 60 minutes. So we have 3:45 plus 15 is 4. 4 plus 60 minutes is 5. 5 p.m. plus 60 minutes is 6, and our ending time, as we remember, is 6:30. So from 6, we add 30 minutes to get to our halfway point, which is 6:30. So we have plus 30 minutes at the end. So now, once you have this complete, what you need to do is you need to add up all of these numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and write them all out on the side. So we have 15 minutes right here. So we're going to mark this off, plus 60. We're going to mark that one off. It's also very important that you write your minutes or hours because it's easy to get confused when you're working with time if you don't write if you're talking about minutes or hours. So 15 plus 60 is 75. Plus this other 60 that we have is 135 minutes. So now we have 135. We still have our final 30 minutes to add. So 135 plus 30 minutes equals 165 minutes. 165 minutes. So with our time graph, we can see that we have moved from 3:45 all the way to 6:30. And we did this using our base 60 regrouping. And we did this by from 3:45 going to 4, from 4 going to 5, from 5 going to 6, and finally from 6 going to 6:30. Alright? Does that make sense? So let me go back over this real quick. We have our line graph, which is our linear model, and we have our time tracker, which is our set model. So both of these models are really going to help you in solving your problems. You always want to make sure that you know for sure what the ending time and the beginning time are, and you need to see how they want you to solve the problem. So how many minutes does he have? And that tells you exactly how many minutes, or hours. If it said hours, then you would find it in that form. So good job today. We're going to work on this for about 30 more minutes, and I'm going to come around and help you guys. So thank you for paying attention.